Ukrainian President Wolmir Zelensky delivered a solemn address to the nation on Sunday, September 28th, in the wake of one of the most devastating Russian missile and drone strike campaigns in recent months. Speaking from Kyiv, he described in stark detail the destruction that swept across the capital, as well as the cities of Zaporizhia and several other regions. The attacks struck mainly residential areas and civilian sites, killing at least 4 people, including a child, and injuring more than 80 others. Rescue operations were still underway as night fell, with emergency services racing to save lives and stabilize damaged buildings. The president opened his remarks by expressing deep sorrow for the victims and heartfelt gratitude to the country's emergency and medical teams. I express my deepest condolences to the families of all the victims and extend my heartfelt thanks to our emergency events service, first responders, doctors, nurses, police officers, and utilities personnel who have worked tirelessly to save lives and contain the damage, Zelensky said. His words carried the weight of a leader confronting the human cost of war while also commending those who stepped forward in its darkest hours. He emphasized that the strikes had not targeted military installations, but ordinary homes and infrastructure, exposing what he called the deliberate nature of Russia's ongoing assault. Zelensky underscored that these attacks were part of a consistent strategy that Russia has employed since the early stages of the invasion, the targeting of Ukraine's energy infrastructure. These attacks on our energy grid are part of a sustained Russian strategy to destabilize our country by causing blackouts and spreading fear. They want to freeze and exhaust our people, he said. The president noted that the strikes were timed to coincide with the United Nations General Assembly in New York, which he argued highlighted Moscow's contempt for global diplomacy. By launching attacks while world leaders were meeting to discuss peace and stability, Zelensky said, Russia had once again proven that it prefers destruction over dialogue. The president accused Moscow of repeatedly dismissing any meaningful peace initiatives. Russia's destructive actions define its intentions far more than any of its words at international forums, he declared. This, he argued, made it clear that the international community must go beyond statements of condemnation and take concrete steps to pressure Russia to end its aggression. Zelensky stressed that the latest wave of strikes demonstrated the urgent need for stronger and more unified global action. These deliberate attacks show why the world must apply stronger pressure on Moscow to curb its aggression and to protect civilians from further harm, he said. Among the most significant appeals in Zelensky's speech was his call for a new package of European sanctions, the 19th of its kind, aimed squarely at Russia's energy sector and its tanker fleet. He said Ukrainian intelligence had obtained evidence that some of Russia's tankers were being used as launch platforms for drones targeting European countries. Restricting the movement of these vessels, including in the Baltic Sea and other key maritime zones, is no longer a choice but a necessity for collective security, Zelensky insisted. He made it clear that such measures were not just about Ukraine's immediate defense needs, but about protecting the wider European community. The measures we are calling for are not only vital for Ukraine's defense, but also for the security of all European nations, he added. Zelensky also highlighted ongoing diplomatic engagement with the United States, noting recent discussions with former US President Donald Trump. The Ukrainian leader described these talks as focused on identifying ways to increase pressure on Moscow and encourage it to reconsider its military strategy. We hope that our American and European partners will act decisively and implement effective measures. Only strong, unified international action can influence Moscow's behavior and bring an end to this war, he said. His words reflected both determination and a sense of urgency, recognizing that Ukraine's ability to resist Russian aggression depends significantly on the speed and scale of international support. The president spoke with particular concern about the need to strengthen Ukraine's air defense systems. The latest wave of missile and drone strikes had shown yet again how vulnerable many urban centers remain. Zelensky reaffirmed the government's commitment to protecting its citizens. Ukraine remains resolute in defending its citizens and its sovereignty. We will strengthen cooperation with our European allies to improve air defences and respond effectively to future attacks, he said. He underscored that better coordination and modern defensive equipment were crucial to preventing future tragedies and ensuring that communities could continue to function under the strain of war. In the closing moments of his address, Zelensky turned to accountability, stressing that Russia would not escape the consequences of its actions. Russia will be held accountable for its actions. Ukraine will continue to protect its people, ensure transparency, and rally international support to prevent further escalation, he declared. His tone was firm and measured, signalling both resolve and a continued appeal to the conscience of the global community. He framed the conflict as not merely a struggle for Ukraine's survival, but also as a test of the world's commitment to protecting civilians in times of war. The president's remarks highlighted the human toll of the strikes, which had left neighborhoods in ruins and families displaced. In cities like Kyiv and Zaporizhzhia, images of firefighters battling flames, emergency crews pulling survivors from rubble, and residents huddling in shelters brought home the grim reality of a war that has touched every aspect of daily life. For many Ukrainians, Zelensky's words were a somber acknowledgement of their suffering, but also a rallying call to remain steadfast. His address reinforced the idea that Ukraine's resistance is not only a military endeavour, but also a collective act of national endurance. Internationally, Zelensky's call for new sanctions came at a critical juncture. With some European countries showing signs of fatigue over the prolonged conflict and debates in the United States over future military and economic aid to Kyiv intensifying, the Ukrainian leader sought to reinvigorate a sense of urgency among allies. By presenting evidence of Russian tankers being used to launch attacks on European countries, he aimed to make the case that the threat posed by Moscow extends far beyond Ukraine's borders. It was, in essence, an appeal for solidarity in the face of what he framed as a shared security challenge. Throughout his address, Zelensky struck a balance between mourning and resolve. He paid tribute to the bravery of first responders, to the resilience of ordinary citizens living under constant threat, and to the sacrifices made by families who have lost loved ones. At the same time, he called for tougher international measures, more robust defences, and a clear commitment to holding the perpetrators accountable. His leadership style, measured, focused, and unflinching, was evident in every line of his speech. Zelensky's message also underscored that while military resistance is critical, diplomacy and international unity are equally vital. The battle, he suggested, is not only being fought on the front lines, but also in global institutions, in the corridors of power in Washington and Brussels, and in the hearts and minds of those who might be tempted to turn away. By reminding the world of both the human cost and the broader stakes of the conflict, he sought to reinforce the importance of sustained engagement and support. For Ukrainians watching his address, there was a sense of shared grief and defiance. The president's words resonated as a pledge that their suffering would not be forgotten and that the country's leaders remained committed to defending their homes, their sovereignty and their future. In the face of yet another brutal wave of attacks, Zelensky's appeal to the international community served as both a call for justice and a reminder that the war is far from over. The speech highlighted that Ukraine's struggle is as much about defending its right to exist as a sovereign state as it is about upholding the principles of civilian protection and international law. By combining expressions of mourning for the victims with gratitude for the courage of first responders, by calling for stronger sanctions while demanding accountability, Zelensky presented a comprehensive and deeply human message. It was a message that reflected the pain of a nation under siege and the determination of a people who refused to yield.